you let me love you forever, forever? I wanna love you. Will you let me love you forever, forever and a day, 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 day.
Happy Friday! Happy Friday. Welcome to TMW Online, the Melanated Way. I am Linda. That is Abby. We are saying happy Friday. We are saying happy Juneteenth, all black everything. And we are also covering the new season of 90 Day The Last Resort, season 3. We are on episode 1. And the title of this show is Last Chance for a Fairy Tale. Abby, your overall thoughts on the opening season episode of The Last Resort?
I'm really excited about this because no matter how much this is quote unquote produced, these are real couple problems. So they will allow for really good conversations. So I'm excited to jump into it. And I feel good about all of these couples too. Like I feel like I have a good grasp on the history of everyone here. Last time we did Last Resort, there were a couple, like I didn't know everybody's story. I feel like I have a good grasp on these couples.
I'm fully invested. A lot of these couples are old school day oneers or been in the franchise for a long time. And as you guys know, I've been covering 90 Day all things since day one, which is crazy to me as I think about how far these couples have come and all the things. I will say that, so there's 6 couples, you guys, and we'll talk about them shortly, but I will say, I feel like it's a weird mix of couples and just weird enough for me to be like, oh, this is going to be really, really interesting. So they have flown across the pond. They're across the pond at Thornbury Castle, and they have 3 weeks to save their relationships. And there are 6 couples, and the first couple is Sarper and Shekna, which we're not surprised, right? Sarper 46, Shekna 43. They've been married for a year, and they're already having some turmoil in their relationship. But if we look at their journey, it's been tumultuous the entire time. So I think for them, I'm looking to see it be all about communication because they do not communicate properly, in my opinion. What's your opinion, Abby?
Same. I feel like one of their issues is he has always been very upfront about the fact that he wants to be dominant. He wants to control her. And she has not lived that life while she's in this. She's succumbed to it while she's on vacation. Like Linda says, you're not the same person on vacation. But she hasn't lived that in her day-to-day life. So very interesting to see how that pans out.
Second couple is Jenny and Sumit, which we know from way back when. Jenny, 67, Sumit, 37. They've been married for 7 years, but as we know, they've been together a long time with the whole, how did they met like catfishing, that whole thing. And so 7 years married. We do find out in the very first 3 minutes that the restaurant that they attempted to open is closed, but who is surprised by that?
No.
And so they're there. Couple number 3 is day oneers, Russ and Paola. They were like one of the very first couples that I interviewed at AfterBuzz TV when I was over at that network, and they're lovely. They're a lovely couple. They've been married 12 years. So you can imagine how long we've been doing 90 Day Fiancé. They've been married 12 years, you guys. 12 years. Blew my mind. But Paola wants to really commit to therapy. They've moved to Las Vegas. They're still living in the RV. And if you guys remember, through the pandemic, I interviewed her and she was in that RV and was not enjoying that RV. So I'm surprised all these years later that they're still living in that RV because she was not happy back then. And that was quite a few years ago now. They have money problems. And what I'm seeing here, Abby, is, she really married and expected Russ to be the provider, which he was in Oklahoma. And one of the things I thought about, Abby, I thought about you and how, I don't know, I can only speak for myself. I was going to say a lot of us don't know. I don't know how a lot of middle America lives. And middle America, you know, trailer homes and all of that is considered a good life. And I don't know, making like 40K is a good life for you. So his good life in Oklahoma is not translating to big city life in Las Vegas, Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, Miami. And so she is a pro wrestler now, and she is the breadwinner, and she's not liking it. What are your thoughts on that?
So when you agree to have a traditional marriage, but then the woman at some point finds a interest that they want to pursue, it often causes problems, especially if the woman is successful in that endeavor. And that's kind of the road, that's the bump that they've hit, because both of them want him to be the provider, and it's weighing on both of them that he's not.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Raydella. Hey, Slothy. Next couple number 4 is Cara and Guillermo. Cara, 33, Guillermo, 27. It's funny because their little intro, they were already dressed up in like Celtic wear, totally taking on the whole castle vibe. They've been married for 4 years. They've known each other for 6 years. So put that in perspective as well, because they feel like a fairly new couple to me, but they're not. And life has happened, and they are no longer living together. They had a kid, Nico, and there's been allegations of cheating, and they've been living apart for a year. And you can tell that in their intro, whatever's going on besides the separation, there's a lot of layers to it. And they gave each other digs in the very, very first 5 seconds of their thing. He called her Lady of the Sheets, and she called him Lord of the Dicks. And I was like, we are not in a good place. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, they're not being kind to each other. I've heard therapists say that one of the best predictors of whether a couple is going to make it through therapy or not is whether or not they show each other any kindness, and they're not being kind to each other.
Off the jump.
So yeah, I'm not ready to assign blame to any particular parties, but neither one of them is being very nice.
Couple number 5, Rebecca and Ziad. Rebecca 54, Ziad 32. Together for 8 years, you guys. It's been 8 years. Married for 5 of those years. One of the things that I didn't remember about their journey is that this is Ziad's first marriage. And if you think about how young he was, right? Because he's only 32, and they've been married for 5 of those years and together for 8 of those years. And he had never been married. But what I didn't remember was this is Rebecca's 4th marriage. Her 4th marriage. And so they feel like, hey, if this is not going to work out, she's not going to do it again. And he probably will do it again. But he's saying, like, I won't do it again. But she definitely is thinking that if they don't work, they're not going to do it again. And I just feel like, you know, I don't know what the magic number is, but when you're married long enough, you guys should just call it a day. Ride off into the sunset together and figure it out, because the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. That's how I feel. Unless it's like a toxic, violent, DV, whatever, like it's a bad situation. If you guys just don't like each other anymore, or you're bored of each other, I just think you should just ride it out to the sunset.
That's interesting, Linda.
I do.
I think it's okay to be single.
I mean,
it's okay to split up and maybe find some happiness somewhere else. The thing that surprised me about Ziad off top was that the way that he speaks is the exact same as it was when we first met him. There's no progression in his English there. I'm not saying that as a judgment. I'm saying it as you've been in the US for 8 years and your speech pattern is exactly the same. That's very interesting to me. It indicates to me that he has not had an opportunity to go out, work, make his own friends, seek higher education. It doesn't sound like he's had an opportunity to do anything.
Interesting point of view. What up, Huntrix? Yeah, so they have communication as their issue. She's always working. She, in his opinion, has no time for him. And she did her, remember she was a private detective, and she caught him in the parking lot with a blonde and had a little freak out, and we saw a little clip of it. He's saying that's just his friend's wife, but we don't know any more of that. And the problem with them is not only communication, but she feels like he runs away from their problems. So anytime there's an issue, instead of talking about it, he just turns his back on it. Huntrix is, y'all, Huntrix official updates is looking for a girlfriend. So if that is you, hit this person up in the chat. In the chat. Last and certainly not least is Thais. I never say her name right. Is it Thais? Thais and Patrick. Thais 29, Patrick 35. As you guys know, they are making waves on social media right now with DV allegations, divorce allegations, children custody allegations. So the timing of this coming out as it has, while they are wildly running amok on social media, is amazing to me. But married 3 years, they have a daughter that's 2 years old. Patrick feels like since she came to the US, they're living two different lives, and it's been a different life, as it should be, because now you're a married couple. Jealousy issues, as well as there's sexual issues because they're not having sex. And as I tell you guys all the time, have that conversation before you get in a serious relationship, because I don't care what you say, sex is important in relationships, period, full stop. Thais has been going back to Brazil often, and she goes offline. She goes dark. She can't, Patrick can't get a hold of her. So he is like, his imaginary situation is running amok in his head, and she's spending a lot of money and not explaining where that money is going. So that is their problems. Do you want to add anything before I move on?
No. Let's go.
Okay, so Kara and Guillermo, they are sharing a room, and this is the first time they've been sharing a room because, they've been living apart for the past year. He doesn't want to sleep in the bed with her. She feels like he wasn't supportive of her music career, didn't come to any of her shows. He feels used for sex. He feels used for sex by her. And he's also accused her of cheating. And he feels like, since they've been married and had a kid, he doesn't know her. What were your thoughts on that?
So there were a couple of things that I wanted to ask to clarify. Because when he says he feels used for sex, I think that's something that you don't just launch back and answer. I think you need to, tell me exactly what the situation was that happened. I think that's really serious, and we should take it seriously and get his, full breakdown point by point and get to what he's talking about. Because if he's just saying, I gave in to sex because you wanted to have it, that's different than being used, right? Like, I want some sincere clarity about that. I don't want it to be glossed over.
I agree with you because he does say he feels used for sex. Then he said in that same breath that he had sex with her the night before, and then the morning when he wanted to have sex with her, she didn't want to, and so then he felt used. So are you being used, or are you doing like tit for tat? Like,
exactly.
So
like,
yes.
Is he suggesting that she doesn't get to have autonomy over her yes and her no? Because that indicates an even bigger issue that I think actually runs through a couple of these couples, which is they have a hard time dealing with when the wife does not want to engage. They have a very hard time accepting that and moving on with their life and into the next day and into the next task. They tally it up against them.
100%.
When Cara said that Guillermo did not support her music career, I feel like she also mentioned that she didn't feel supported post pregnancy. So I also wanted to ask, was there some pregnancy complications? Was there some postpartum depression that was occurring? You know, I just had a lot of questions come up.
I agree. But and again, we're gonna get into it. This is just episode 1 for us.
Right.
Jenny. So Jenny and Samit. This is a crazy one too because they haven't had sex since they moved into Samit's parents' house, and it's giving mom and son vibes. I can't explain it to you, but it's like a weird little dynamic. So Jenny's talking about their first group therapy is going to be in the morning for everyone. But tonight they were recommended to go to the pub and meet everyone that's going to be all the other couples. And that's what they do. And what we find out about Samit is that he's a drinker and he's a smoker. And neither of those things Jenny is into. And is kind of like parenting him through it. Doesn't want him to do any of those things while they're in England. Now, I did think it was interesting because we haven't seen Samit outside of India this whole time, right? We've always seen Jenny coming and going from India. So this is the first time we're seeing Samit outside of his country. Any thoughts on that, Abby?
Well, I looked it up because I wasn't sure if British citizens have any special privileges with regards to traveling to the UK because of the prior colonization. But they still have to apply for a visa in order to go there. So I suppose that when the, show tapped them to be interested in them, they probably helped him along with applying for his visa to come as well.
100%. Shekinah. So they're going to the pub. They meet Russ and Paola at the curb at the car to go to the pub. And you could tell that each of the couples were sizing each other up. And it was such a weird little thing to watch. They get to the pub. And this is how it's so funny because people always say you can always tell when someone is from LA. Because everything they order is going to be extra. And so she gets to the pub. She wants to not only try the ciders, she wants to, one's like a little bit sour, one's a little bit sweet. She wants the bartender to do like a half and half. And I just started laughing because she doesn't want to be too sweet. I was like, that's how you tell someone's from LA for sure. It's always like an extra step. Not like, let me just try each of them and I can figure it out. No, can you make it a half and half? And then Thais and Patrick arrive, and it's like so now you guys picture it's Patrick and Thais, Shekinah and Sarper, Russ and Paola. It's like a weird little dynamic I felt going on. The ladies sit together and Thais is having a beauty malfunction. Her eyelash is falling off, but of course Shekinah has eyelash glue, so she gets it out and whips it out and helps her get her eyelash back on. But also Mean Girls it together. So she's not a fan of Thais because Thais unfollowed her on social media, so now she thinks Thais is fake. And I was like, you guys are so weird. Like, okay, so she unfollowed you. Who cares? You've never met her in real life. Maybe, have a connection with her, talk to her, get to know her. And then if you guys feel like you guys want to follow each other, then follow each other. When people announce, I'm unfollowing you. Okay, bye. You don't need to announce it. I don't care. Like, it's weird that people feel like that's such a thing that it's so important. What do you think, Abby?
Yeah, I was a little bit confused about why this is so important to Shekinah because it's not like this is my dearly held friend that we've been together, in person for a few times, or we've had some deep conversations and I'm just wondering what's going on. So I wasn't sure why that was so important to Shekinah. It reminded me of when I was in like my late teens, 19, early 20s, and MySpace came out, and it used to be a big deal to have someone in your top 8 on MySpace. That's what it reminded me of. Like, it's so juvenile. It really doesn't matter. Shekinah, just get to know her if you want to know her.
That's what you said. Get to know her. It's weird.
Also, I feel like it's so clear that Thais doesn't even know what's going on most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what what's the deal? You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
do you not understand that Thais is clueless?
That part. That part, and she probably didn't even know. She probably wasn't following you originally. Like, who knows what happened
She
there?
pro- it was
She
probably
clearly
a
is not thinking about it. So, like, why are you making it such a deep thing that it literally becomes argument? It was weird.
exactly.
Rebecca and Ziad arrive, and then Jenny and Sumit arrive. And one of the things, you guys, that I was shocked about was how little Sumit is. He's like a Kevin Hart little. He's that little, short, little. And Jenny must be like short as well, because together they're like this little couple and everyone towers over them. Did you notice that, Abby?
Yeah, and I was like, we have only seen him in relationship to his family, so that's why we wouldn't know how small he was.
He is little. Kevin Hart little, you guys. Maybe 5'1", maybe 5'1". So one of the things that I thought was funny was that Russ didn't know who Sumit was, and Sumit's like, "You don't know who I am?" And Russ is looking at him like, "Nah, fool, nah." On the flip side, Shekinah is fangirling over Jenny as, an OG. I get that, right? Because Jenny's one of the OGs. And so they're like mingling in the pub. Patrick ends up talking to Sarper. Now, I didn't see this episode of, what is it, Between the Sheets or whatever. I didn't see it. But allegedly Patrick was talking smack about Sarper. And so Sarper confronted him and he's like, "Hey, like, why are you talking about me?" And it was all about his ears. Patrick says, Sarper has the biggest ears he's ever seen ever. And I laughed. Then we go back to Kara and Guillermo. They arrive. And one of the things is those two don't communicate with each other, Abby, and clearly have deep-seated issues, but they come together when they want to talk smack about other couples. They're like on point with their talking smack about other couples. So they were talking about Sarper and Shekinah and how much money they've spent on their faces and on their bodies. And what were your thoughts when they were doing that?
I think that Sarper and Shekinah are easy targets for that kind of conversation because they have such a cosmetic look about them.
Mhm.
So I understand people falling into having it. Obviously, like, it's not the nicest thing to do, but it's so obvious that it's easy. They're easy targets.
Yeah, but I also think for me, it's so interesting how people can bond over being like mean girling it.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying.
You can't deal with your own issues. Like, it's easy for you to be snarky towards others, which takes away from the fact that you're not dealing with your own issues. It's just like how some girls are really mean to women that they think are pretty because they're
Mhm.
dealing with their own insecurities. I just
Mhm.
felt it was like that vibe. Like, you guys have
Yeah.
your own problems in your relationship, and Sarper and Shekinah have their own issues, but you're taking jabs at them rather than dealing with your own issues. I just thought it was a bit
Yeah.
weird.
Well, I kind of assume that we're watching them answer a production question as opposed to them just like, now we go back and talk about all the couples.
Even if they're answering a production question, Abby, in my opinion, they were still being really, really like childish, snarky.
Yeah.
Jenny is making a big deal about being at the pub. She doesn't want Sumit to get drunk, and she tells that to his face as well as in front of everybody, and he feels embarrassed by that. He feels controlling. He feels like that situation is a controlling situation, and what we find out, which is true, is that he's controlled by two people in his life. He's controlled by his mom,
Mm-hmm.
and he's controlled by his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And so now it's like a battle of control. And it's true because don't forget, his wife and his mom are probably the same age. And here he is 37, which, when you're your 20s, when you're young, you're going to want to go and party. That's just normal. it's normal. But they're past that age where she wants to like chill and be at the house and be at home in bed by 7. I can see where their issues would come in, really.
Yeah.
So she says that Sumit is not a good drunk, that he falls, he walks into walls, and she doesn't like it. So she's like his drinking. So she literally leaves him. She walks out of the pub, which is our first official, like, I'm done, without saying I'm done. And so she's talking about how she's saying, I don't want you to drink. And she wants him to respect what she wants. And especially on this first night where she's just meeting the couples and all of that stuff. So that translated to me, Abby, that she really cares about what other people think. And she thinks that her word is the law, instead of having a conversation with her partner. If you know your partner is a drinker, why have you not had that conversation before you guys get to the pub?
Mm-hmm.
What were your thoughts?
I think she should just let him. You're trying to convince everybody that he's a horrible drunk and he can't hold his liquor. Let him see it.
Yep. So she walks out, he follows her, and because he just doesn't want to have the fight, right? He doesn't want to have the fight. So he comes back, and yet he is holding resentment because it's the second time we hear in this first episode that he feels controlled by Jenny and controlled by his mother.
Mm-hmm.
We get back to the pub, and Shekinah confronts Thais again about the social media thing and says, you removed me as a follower. And Thais is like, how do you know that? Like, can you prove it? When she said, can you prove it? I was like, that's a weird take, but okay. And Thais goes on to say, like, I don't know what happened, which is going on with what Abby said. Like, she's just like, do. You remember the cartoons back in the day where it's like, I think it was like birds or something. Birds would like
yes
in your head, and sometimes it was like because you hit your head, and it was like doo. That's the vibe she gives. It's like doo.
Yes.
But she's like, you're so annoying, and she walks away, right? And I would think it was a little bit annoying, to be honest, too. Like if someone who I never met before ever said, hey, for the second time, you unfollowed me on social media, I would just be like, okay, and? Like, what? Is that the first thing you want to say to me? Like, it's weird.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird.
I think if she wanted, she could have just said, do you recall me doing anything to offend you? Because I don't mean to offend you. I do want to build a friendship or relationship, or at least be cordial with each other. That would have been fine.
Say that. Say, it's important to me. I want to be friends with you. And again, I don't know what happened, but can we talk about it? Say that. But when you just say, like, you unfollowed me, it seems very weird.
It does. It doesn't really offer a solution, because if she pulls her phones out and follows you back, now what?
Right. Is the problem solved? Because is that what the problem is? Weird. They take the fight to the whole group, and people start siding with people, and you start to see what's gonna go on here. So Shekinah's mad, she's by herself. Kara is siding with Thais, and Thais has Patrick, and Kara has Guillermo, and Sarper is like, I'm not having any of this. He gets up and leaves while his wife is fighting with this whole crew. And I thought that was indicative of the relationship. What were your thoughts, Abby?
So I was a little bit torn on this, because as much as I know that you want your partner to back you up, Shekinah is doing something ridiculous. And like, when you're in a relationship, are you a ride or die even when it's ridiculous, or you are a ride or a die conditional?
Oh, listen to me right now, and listen to me very clearly, you all. If you're dating me and I'm dating you, if you're my husband, you're my fiance, if you're any significant part of my life, you're my partner, you are my ride or die. I don't care if I'm being ridiculous. I don't care if you don't agree with me in the moment. You can pull me aside when we're alone and say, I don't agree with you, but you better have my back. Period. Full stop. I did not agree with Sarper walking away because you don't know what's going to turn up. And whether you think she's being ridiculous, because I also think she's being ridiculous about calling someone out for unfollowing you. What you're not about to do is leave me alone in a fight so that I have no backup. It shows that you don't back me up. Period. No, absolutely not, Abby. Absolutely not. No.
Okay. Well, what if he had just gone and he gave her a hug and said, let's walk outside? Then this way he's with her, but not defending the ridiculousness.
I mean, do that, but be by her side. He didn't do that. He left. He walked away, which is part of their issues, clearly, because they ended up starting to have a fight because she felt abandoned. And I don't blame her for that. Yes, her issue with Thais was trivial, but you see the deeper issue. And the deeper issue is she doesn't feel supported by her partner. And I don't blame her because she wasn't supported in that moment. Jenny and oh God, these two are so crazy. Jenny and Sumit go back to the hotel and she wants to go to bed, but he wants to continue to drink and be friendly. And so he's going to go out of the hotel room and go have a smoke. And so the other thing I thought was interesting, Abby, is because we heard so much in their journey about his like spirituality and how important it is to him. And I just think like we're learning so much that we didn't know about him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Cara and Guillermo get back to bed or get back to the room. She gets to the bed. He's moving to the couch and he's making a really big deal about not being in the bed with her. And I'm trying to figure out what that issue is. It's deep rooted. Like he literally is acting like he's a victim of something. That's the vibe I'm getting from him. Like something traumatic happened between them and he's the victim and he doesn't want to be anywhere near her sexually.
Yeah, it's very bizarre. I'm like, are we having a Madonna complex issue where he's having a hard time seeing her as a separate sexual being belonging to herself because now she's a mom? Did he expect that once she had a child that she was suddenly going to become chaste, and because she didn't do that, he's having an issue mentally with it? Is that what we're seeing a little bit of, or are we seeing him act out some of his own guilt about things that maybe he's done during the separation? Like what exactly is going on just for him in his own head? That part's clear.
Something's going on. I don't get it. But again, this is only episode 1 and I'm sure we're going to get to the bottom of it. It's the next day and Thais is getting ready for the group therapy. She's worried about seeing Shekinah again because of all the drama brought at the pub. We see Cara and Guillermo get up and it turns out that he actually slept in the bed with her because there were no blankets for him on the couch, but he was not happy about it at all. And apparently did like a whole bed pillow bridge between them. And just was such a weird interaction. Like, and again, I'm looking like they have been together for 6 years. They've known each other for 6 years and married for 4. And the way we're seeing him show up in this is like he literally doesn't want to be physically around her. And I need to know more. I need to know more. What's going on over there? What happened? So they all show up to this group therapy in the morning, and Jenny and Sumit are the last to arrive, and she doesn't like that, which I'm starting to see that it's really important to her. Her portrayal and how people see and view her is something that's important to her because she keeps saying things that make me think that. And we get introduced to the 3 therapists that are going to help these marriages that are in crisis and dysfunction, quote unquote. First is Persia. She is a dating and relationship coach. She is expert in cognitive behavioral therapy and somatic healing. I don't even know what somatic healing is. Do you?
I a very bad description is learning where you feel things in your body, and so that you can deal with what those feelings evoke in you.
Okay, so that's Persia. She doesn't claim to be a doctor. She just introduced herself as Persia, and gave us what her background was in. Next is Dr. Tyrone K. Grandison, and he is an MD doctor. He is a doctor in marriage and family therapy, and you can tell that that is what he does, and that is his job because that's all he said. He didn't say he is a whimsical artist that focuses on health and wellness and blah blah blah. He just stood there and said, "Nope, I'm a doctor in marriage and family therapy."
Hmm.
Bravo. Because
Yes.
we need a real therapist up in this joint. And the third therapist is she introduced herself as Dr. Tara. And then I looked at that last name and I said she had the same problems that I had growing up. And I'm going to try to pronounce it because it's a very interesting. So it's Dr. Tara Siwanachi Chikaporn. I tried. I'm not sure how it's pronounced, so I don't know if I said it right. But Suwyattticaiporn, porn. And I'm sure she's heard that before because she is also a sexual communication professor and sexologist with PORN as the last four letters of her last name. So I'm sure she heard it before, and I'm not saying anything new. But she is a sex therapist. So we will see how this all comes together. And I hope that they are actual therapists. Because one of the things that I have not enjoyed about The Last Resort is the therapists don't actually do any therapy. They just kind of let them sit in their muck and it runs amok. And then they say, okay, thanks for being here.
Right. And one thing that I already don't like is that Dr. Tyrone is not the lead of this trio of professionals, because I did not care for Dr. Persia's cutting him off. I already clocked that. I didn't like that.
One of the things that I did like is that he's asking the real questions.
He asked the questions. Yeah.
So when he was asking questions, I was like, can we get the answers or are we just going to keep rolling past this? Because he's actually trying to do the work. So the first couple they address is Patrick and Thais. And Patrick feels it's been a crazy 3 years of marriage. In that 3 years, he's undergone 2 surgeries. They've lived in 4 houses. He feels stressed out all the time. He feels like she's been distant in the marriage. And I keep saying he, right? Because these are all the things he's listing off. He feels like there's a lack of sex and there's a lack of effort on her part. She says that she is no longer making it just about him. She's prioritizing herself. So she started to go to the gym, started to focus on the things that are important to her, which he, in my opinion, is translating into her being distant, right? And as Abby talked about, when you sign up for traditional marriage, that traditional man is expecting traditional roles, and part of that is him being the center of him being the center of your universe, and everything is about him and for him. And so they actually like it when you start to slack in your looks, because that means no one else is looking at you. And so when you start to say, she had a baby, so she's like, I had a baby, now I want to go back to the gym. She goes back to the gym and starts to feel better about herself, and now he doesn't trust her. Those are his words. He doesn't trust her, and he thinks she's cheated on him. And he brings up the Brazil trip and how she keeps going back to Brazil, and she goes MIA and dark and can't find he can't get a hold of her. And then there was this mysterious $2,000 charge on the credit card that she didn't tell him about. Now, this part I don't agree with. I think that when you are in a partnership, you guys need to talk about finances and how you spend your finances, and because $2,000 is not chump change. And she spent $2,000 on the credit card, didn't tell him what it was for, and then we find out that she got liposuction, and so they have trust issues. And one of the things I thought was hilarious is Shekinah saying, well, you have trust issues because basically she's out of your league and you know that. And I agree with her. I think that what Shekinah said is true. And what she also said was oftentimes these passport bros go out of the country and get these beautiful women that are out of their league in order for them to have a traditional marriage. And then the woman comes to America or wherever, England, wherever they are, and starts to get some autonomy, and they friggin' lose their minds. And all of a sudden, you don't trust that woman. She's cheating on you, all the things, because you know what? You batted out of your league. You thought you were going to control them because they're an immigrant. And then guess what? They start using their minds, because just because you're an immigrant doesn't mean you're stupid.
Right. Right. So Shekinah and Sharper both said very interesting things during Thais and Patrick's segment, because then after Shekinah said that, Sharper said, you don't even know what your woman feels like. How would you not know that she had lipo across her back? You don't know what she feels like. So this to me was like, is this one of those situations where Patrick is not even worried about satisfying Thais or exploring her body? He's just using her as a tool.
100% agree. 100% agree. Because like Abby said, when Sarper said, how do you not notice the size of your lady? And that's true. Because, you know, your partner is going to know everything about you. It's going to know everything about you. Like, yeah, I don't want to put my stuff out there, but like your partner's going to notice if they actually are paying attention to you. They'll notice all the things. So end of the day, they have communication and trust issues. We move on to Russ and Paola. Russ doesn't feel appreciated in their relationship, and financial stability is an issue for them. And he feels like he was the breadwinner when they were in Oklahoma, but then they moved to Vegas and he had to start over. And in that starting over, he's been laid off 3 times and hasn't found the balance yet. So there's some resentment on Paola's side for that. And she feels like he's not motivated. And quite frankly, she said in her words, she's done. And so when asked, then why are you here at therapy? She said it's because of their son, right? Because she feels like she's paying for her son, she's paying for Russ, and at this point, he's an expense to her because she pays for everything. And she just feels confused about her feelings for her husband, but doesn't want to break up the marriage because of their child. And I would say to that, you guys, is it's not going to work if you're only there for the kids. And quite frankly, you're probably making it worse because kids are very receptive and they see everything and hear everything. And you can't play fake a marriage, because then you're showing them the example of what they should be having in their future lives, and it's a wrong example, right? If you're faking the funk, then don't be surprised if your child is like in a crazy toxic relationship, because this is what they know as an example. What are your thoughts, Abby?
Even though she said that, I actually had a hard time accepting that is how she really feels, because when we see the aerial view of the camera that's in their room, where the camera crew's not in their room, it's just the camera that they leave in their room, Paola is very affectionate with Russ. She very much extends herself to him to continue having a physical relationship, and not just in sex, but like for them to have closeness, for them to hug, for them to touch each other. And I didn't feel like if she's truly done and she's only there for their son, that these are ways that she would continue to extend herself to him.
No, I agree with you. I mean, I think she loves him. It's been 12 years and she's not going anywhere. She might be unhappy with some of the things, but at the end of the day, she loves her husband. So she wants to see if she's wrong. And one of the things that I thought was so funny is that they were talking about their sex life, and Axel shares a bed with them because they are in the RV. So it's more like a hurry up and let's get this done rather than a pleasurable experience for them. Um, so she compared it to being a dead cow, and all of the couples had a response to that comment. Every single couple had a response. What were your thoughts on that, Abby?
I thought this has got to be really disappointing in thinking of your man as the leader. If you sign up for traditional marriage, then wouldn't they also provide a place where you could be intimate and enjoy things and not have to be in a rush? Like how disappointing to be with a partner who's trying to do something really quick with you because they can't even provide a place for it to happen.
Mm-hmm. But what were your thoughts on all the couples having a reaction to the comment about the dead cow?
Oh, I didn't even think about that. I don't know. I mean, like, some people thought it was funny. Some people thought it was sad. What did you think?
I think that sex is going to be an important issue to tackle during this therapy, and I think every couple has a little bit of it, because if we look back to see who the couples are, Sarper and Shekinah, because of their communication issue, I think that that's probably affecting their sex life. Jenny and Sumit already told us that they're not haven't had sex since they moved to the mom's house. Russ and Paolo just told us that the kids in the bed, so they have to rush when they want to do it. Kara and Guillermo are not having sex, and there's some other traumatic situation going on there. We haven't heard too much about Rebecca and Ziad, but we also know that Patrick and Thais are having problems sexually in their marriage as well. So I think that that's going to be a big issue for all of the couples this season. And so I hope that they address it in an informative way, because this is a learning opportunity for the general public. And so don't have us have these issues come up for these couples and not truly address it, because some people have never seen therapy. And I said this last season, and this might be their opening door. And I hope they don't drop the ball, because if they fake therapy, then people who've never been introduced to therapy before are going to think that this is what therapy actually is, which it is not. And so I hope they do the right thing. And the second thing is that I've always said, and will continue to say, that sex is very important in relationships, and it's an extension of your bond with the other person. And it's not just the physical, right? It's the communication component, it's the love component, it's the commitment component. All of those things can either make your sex life great or terrible. It's up to you. Do you want to add anything to Russ and Paola before I move on to Shekinah and Sarper?
Let's go, Shekinah and Sarper.
Communication, respect, power are their issues. All this alpha male business. I need them to both define what they think alpha male means, and specifically what it means for them in their relationships, because I dare say that Shekinah has alpha tendencies, right? So if alpha to them means outspoken, strong, opinionated, boss behavior, they both have that. So I'm going to need them to define what they mean by that. One of the issues that and you can tell she goes to therapy, because she right away is expressing her concerns. She wants to feel like she's not alone, and she gives the example of Sarper leaving her yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And then she makes a dig that I thought was like, oh, oof. She says, you left your garbage life in Turkey, and now you have an amazing life in Los Angeles. And I was like, ooh, that's a harsh statement.
Right before that, she says, I hate your ugly Turkish swearing. Mm-hmm. She said a series of really mean things to him, But you know what I saw in that? I was like, I think Shekinah is also suffering from some low self-esteem or low confidence that is also enmeshed in the issues that she's having with Sarper, because what is this need to lash out at Taish and lash out at your husband back to back, but you're crying?
That's a good point. I do think that that's also tied in with, do whatever makes you feel beautiful. But I think that, her job choice and her choices for physical beauty, it all is all tied into that, right? It's tied into esteem and how she feels about herself and how she feels about others. And I said earlier, a lot of time people with low self-esteem lash out to people because of whatever they're dealing with internally. What Sarper shares is that, and I thought this was something that you would want to talk about, and it's true, he felt weak going through the green card process because she made him feel like it was her house, her things, her money. He couldn't work for that period of time, which is what immigrants go through, especially on this K-1 visa process. And any immigration process where you're waiting on getting your paperwork and your green card and your work permit and all of that stuff, you can't work. So you are literally relying on the other person to support you until you can. And even when you can work, then you have to go through the process of finding a job. And then don't forget, like, oftentimes English is not the first language. They don't know anyone. They don't have a community. So how much harder does it make? So he said that he felt like a ghost during those times, and he felt weak, especially if the person that is supporting you is reminding you that all of these things are theirs.
So I do want to talk about it. So, and just as a reminder, this is everyone's situation, but Sarper's situation was actually even a little bit more difficult because Shekinah works from home. So during the daytime, she basically was kicking him out, and he would just be wandering around town until he was allowed to come back to the house when she was done with her clients for the day. So I think the best thing that you can do for yourself during this time, if you're an immigrant coming to the US and you're going to have this long stretch of period before you have a work permit, is to have some kind of passion project that you're working on during that time, whether it's going to be some free online classes, which are available at a lot of universities in the United States, whether it's going to be exploring the town that you're in and you're making videos for people back home about the new food that you're trying or the new candies that you're trying, or if you're going to devote yourself into making a plan for your future higher education. Like, you need to have some kind of passion project. If you are familiar with the TV series The Last Kingdom, based on the character Uhtred, that is something that an immigrant from England actually wrote while he was waiting for his work permit. And then it became a major book, and then it got bought and became a TV series. And he puts in the dedication that because of USCIS delays, he was able to write this whole novel. So you need to have something that you're going to spend your time doing and dedicate your life to, so that you don't feel so lost like Sarper did during that time.
I love that. I love that advice, you guys. I love that advice. And so one of the things, though, is so during that time, Shekinah was the breadwinner, but now he says he's the whole bakery, and still she doesn't respect him. So there's a lot going on there. There's some financial stuff that's going on. There is some, like, who's the boss versus partnership stuff going on. So it should be interesting to see how that pans out. Now, one of the things I did not like, because again, trust is part of their problem as well in their relationship, and we're kind of seeing that thread throughout all of the 6 couples. But for Sarper and Shekinah specifically, Sarper threatens that he's going to sleep with everyone in LA when he's mad at her. And I got to tell you guys something. No. Just no. Couldn't be me. You're going to go do what?
Yeah, that's
You're gonna go do what?
Well, and
While
he's under
you're on the comedy circuit,
no.
meeting all these groupies. What are you saying to me again? Oh, absolutely not. No.
I don't like the idea that he seems to accept the when you're upset, you can just say nasty things. Everybody says nasty and mean things to each other when they're upset. I don't like that philosophy. I would never be compatible with somebody who believes that because I don't do that. I'm not going to ever use something that you say to me that is sensitive against you. I'm not going to ever call out any flaws that are not on the, like this, not part of the discussion that we're having. I'm not going to do that. And if you do that to me, we are done. I no, that's not acceptable.
Listen, some people are in such toxic relationships that they don't even realize that when they're fighting, it's toxic fighting. You know,
Horrible.
name calling and using sensitive information against your partner, that's toxic. It's
It is.
toxic.
I got into an argument in one of my immigrant groups on Facebook. I'm in a lot of immigration related Facebook groups to give immigration advice a lot of times. And there are so many men in those groups who think it's normal that when you get into a fight with your partner that they'll say, well, I'm going to call USCIS or I'm going to call ICE on you. I have to tell them all the time that is not normal. That is not okay. And they'll be like, oh, she's just overreacting. I was just, in the heat of the moment. That is not an okay thing to say to somebody in the heat of the moment. Never, under any circumstances.
It's never okay to use a vulnerability against your partner.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize that you can have a healthy disagreement and not name call and not threaten your partner. That's healthy disagreement. You're not always going to agree. What's unhealthy is when you say mean, toxic things, when you put your hands on someone, when you threaten someone. That's not healthy. And I need us to start having those type of conversations so that people can see like, hey, maybe there's something I need to work on in myself. Because why do I feel the need to lash out onto someone in order to hurt them because you're hurting?
Mm-hmm.
When you do that, it really is about you. When you lash out on your partner, it really is your insecurity and your issue that you haven't dealt with. And so you want to bring your misery out onto your partner, and that's never okay.
Right.
That's it. That is episode 1. That's all I have for episode 1 of 90 Day to Last Resort. Abby, do you have anything to close us out with?
That's it, you guys. Make sure you like and subscribe and come back for more.
Happy Friday. Happy Juneteenth. And we'll see you guys very soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Come on over to our Instagram. You guys are missing out if you're not there as well. And we'll see you very soon. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.